Hello and welcome to today's daily news analysis. So today is 16th of March 2022. We are covering the Hindu newspapers Delhi edition. And as part of our initiative, I make it a point to share questions for mains answer writing practice. And in fact, today I have a very interesting question on this subject. So you must follow what is happening right now. And you can get these evaluated. So 2 answers every week. And the details are there in the description box below. So as I said, we are going to discuss this ruling and obviously cover this from the point of view of polity. So you will see the practical side of the Lakshmikant's book today. The next question is, you can see from the headline itself, I think you get the issue. MLAs refuse to discuss menstrual issues. They say that it is too pure a forum and we should not discuss. But see, it reflects the mindset of the people, mindset of the society with reference to some social taboo. It also reflects some sort of a discrimination. So here I am using a past year question and trying to showcase as to how UPSC frames questions on these lines. It will not specifically ask you about the menstrual issue. At least it has not done it as yet. Right? So we have these 2 issues we are going to cover. So this is about the challenges that the women face at time and space, levels of time and space. Now coming to this article, India's solar capacity. I don't have a question over here, but just look at the topic. India has certain commitments, certain goals, certain targets about promoting the solar energy. India has already made certain progress. So there will always be a gap between the target and the actual achieved, whatever has been achieved by the government. There will be a gap. And there are going to be certain challenges in that regard, right? There are certain achievements, milestones, and at the same time, there are certain challenges, obstacles as to why there is this gap. So this is very interesting. At the same time, when we do the challenges, by proxy, we are also doing the way forward. What should be the way forward? How do we correct these challenges? So this is actually a answer. 250. You get content for writing a 250 word answer over here. So you must keep an eye on this topic. Now coming to this article over here. So wearing hijab is not essential part of the religion. Let me just mark this, essential part of religion. This is important. But before going ahead, I have a question before you so that whatever we are covering plus the question is in line with that. So what do you understand by the concept of freedom of practice, profession and propagation of religion? Simple. Does it cover the right to wear or right to attire? Right, attire is again the dress code. So I have an attire right now. Specifically with reference to one's customary dress. Right, hijab is a customary dress. My turban is a customary dress. So discuss in light of recent events. Now let's do this with recent events. I have one recent event over here where the state government of Haryana gave an order prescribing certain guidelines for schools and pre-university college. I really don't know what that is, but let's say college level, to prescribe some guidelines to have uniform. So they said that see, this dress wearing of hijab shall not be part of the uniform. Now you look at the question over here. What do you understand by the concept of freedom of practice, profession and propagation of religion? Does it cover the right to wear? Right to wear the hijab in this case? Or in my case, the right to wear turban or patka or right to wear kirpan? Does it include this? Discuss this specifically with reference to one's customary dress. Right. So in this case, we can see this particular issue over here. So here in this case, the girl child or the woman was said that see, if you want to attend the school or college, you cannot wear the hijab. That will not be permitted. So families as well as some women also, so they went ahead with they filed a petition at the Karnataka High Court and they challenged this order. They challenged the uniforms, the norms of the uniforms that were set by the schools and the colleges that disallowed hijab. They said that see, it is affecting our Article 25, the freedom of conscience, and the right to freedom of practice, profession, and propagation of religion. Practice of religion. It is interfering in a right. Furthermore, it said, so we have Article 25 of the Constitution. Furthermore, it said that, see, the hijab allows us in concealing our identity. So it is affecting our privacy. So our privacy is under Article 19 as well as Article 21. Right. So we have these two issues over here. Versus, these are the issues of the individual rights, versus the right, the collective right of the institution to prescribe norms as to how they want to govern their education system or whatever, institution systems. So this was being challenged at the Karnataka High Court, and this is not the first time. We have precedents, legal precedents over here. So in such scenarios, what the court does is, the court says that, okay, fine, this is a hijab issue, or in my case, the turban issue. Is this an essential part of the religion or not? They have to address this issue over here. Is it an essential part of the religion, or can they do without it? This is what they have to look into. And this test of essential practice or essential practices test came with the Shirur Mat case. So this was devised by the Supreme Court. In this Shirur Mat case, we also have the Anand Marga or Anand Murgi judgment of the Supreme Court. Basically allowing, certain practices, they are allowing, okay, fine, in these cases it shall be permitted, in these cases it shall not be permitted. In fact, we also have the Sabarimala judgment also, where we had, it was not about right to wear, but it was about, it was with reference to the Ayyappa temple in Kerala, Sabarimala temple, where the menstruating women were not allowed, or the age group of the menstruating women were not permitted. So in that also they looked into the essential practice. Is it an essential practice or not? Right, so we have this judgment over here which brought about the essential practices. So what the court has to do in this case, or what the judiciary has to do is, it has to establish, or the people who are challenging this, they have to establish that, see, this wearing of hijab or wearing of turban is an essential practice or essential part of the religion, which they could not do it. In fact, this is a very mellowed down version. I read the article on the bar and bench. So this provides a lot of, I read this entire thing of transcripts. So they were not able to establish that wearing of hijab is an essential part of the religion. So now they say that, okay, fine, then why are Sikhs allowed to wear turban? Or in this case, while driving in the Motor Vehicle Act, there is an exemption given to Sikhs that turbans can be used in lieu of the helmet. We all know it is not the same protection. Likewise, in the defense forces, there was a case where an Indian airman, Muslim airman, who wanted to keep a beard, so he was removed from the service. But Sikh are allowed. So we'll come to this. So in this case, what is happening is that in Sikhism, right, and now I have reference to Sikhism. So in Sikhism, cutting of hair is prohibited. So it's mentioned. But in this case, hijab is a customary dress, but it is not. It wasn't actually part of the religion as such. It has been prescribed in that bar and bench. Actually, it has been given as to Muhammad Prophet had said that let it not be part of the religion. Let us not enforce it. Recommended but not enforced. So this is what it is actually in this case. So they were not able to establish this. Right. So this is what we have right now. So we have the essential practices test. So this was the case with reference to the Sikh airmen as well as the bearded man. That was in 2016. So the court upheld the right of the institution to prescribe norms or the dress code of the people who are serving in the Air Force. Right, so we have 2016. Likewise, there was a case known as Bijo Emanuel case. So Bijo Emanuel case, this is in 2015. So this was basically with reference to, there is a sect in Kerala who says that, singing the national anthem, or when you're singing, you're praising the god. You're not praising the god, you're praising some other entity, the country actually. So they said that as part of a religion, it is not permitted, and we don't want to do this. So their children were taken away from the school. They were not allowed to attend the school if they don't sing the national anthem. So they went to the court and they said that, see, this is an essential part of the religion of this sect, and they should be respectful, even if they don't want to sing, fine, but they should be respectful to the national anthem. That's all, right? So this is again an example of essential practices. Now coming to the uniform code, wearing of the uniform, not uniform code, we have two judgments. So we have Amna Bashir dress code for the Amna Bashir case. This was two judgments of the Kerala High Court. So the CBSE had prescribed the dress code for people who are writing the examination. So in that there was no reference of hijab. In the dress code uniform, we have, okay, fine, you can wear this dress, you don't wear the clock, the smartwatch, etc. So in that there was no reference of hijab over there. So the guard did not allow the students to enter because as per the norms it was not there. So they said that, see, hijab should be allowed, but in case somebody asks, let's say some cheating, there is a fear that somebody may misuse this provision, then in that case they may be allowed, they may remove the hijab as well as required if it is required by the invigilator. So Amna Bashir dress code. And next is Fatima versus State of Kerala. So in this case, the judge said that, see, this was again with reference to the hijab only. So in this case, the court had upheld the right of the collective right of the institution of prescribing the dress code, and they said that this has greater weightage over the individual's right of wearing this dress, and it said it is not an essential part of the religion. And just to be sure, the judge was a Muslim judge only in this case, right? It had taken a lot of research actually coming to here. So see, now you can answer this question. What do you understand by the concept? You can list down the Article 25 of the Constitution. In fact, you can also give a reference of India's model of secularism, that is positive secularism, that is Sarv Dharm Sambhav, and it allows the state for positive discrimination and grounds of religion, as well as some reasonable restrictions are also there. So state can interfere in matters of religion. Now, does it cover the right to wear? It's a mixed package. If it is essential part of the religion, yes, else it is not, right? So in certain cases, you can highlight this with reference to the judgments that I just shared before you. So this is what has happened. Next articles: won't return to class without hijab. So it is affecting their, which article? Article 21, right to education is also there, part of it. Order violates freedom of religion, that is what they have said. Students move top court, so they have challenged this judgment of the High Court, and then it has gone to the Supreme Court. So again, this will be there, and I'll share a similar question. So do write the answer, it's very politically sensitive. We may have our own leanings also, right? So when you're writing the exam under pressure situation, we mess up. So do share this answer also, right? Take your time, share your answers, and have no issues. You can get this evaluated. So this is there. Order violates freedom of religion. Don't deny education to girls, say women groups. Okay, quickly. More information on anti-lynching bills. See, lot of lynching things had happened. Lynching is mob lynching had taken place, and fine. So 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18 also, and UPSC actually asked a question on mob lynching as well. Now the question arises, should we have a dedicated law on mob lynching? Mob lynching is different from murder. It is also a murder only, but here a mob has collectively come together and killed a person. There is also an aspect of communalization. And this mob mentality that is there, that it doesn't care about the law or whatever, it happens, whatever happens here. It's very ugly. So given the odd circumstances, given the situation that it is distinct from murder, should we have a dedicated law on mob lynching or not? So the central government, BJP ruled central government, it is not in favor of mob lynching. It says that we have existing laws on murder, etc. in the Indian Penal Code. So we should not have a distinct law on mob lynching. Furthermore, basically he was addressing the parliament, the minister, and in that process the same issues came to light. It's basically, should we have a dedicated law on mob lynching? Centre disagrees with it basically. And they also said that, see, with reference to mob lynching, somebody would have asked a question as to, he was responding to a question by the Congress member that how many incidents have taken place? Do you have a fact on this or not? So the opposition asked, they said no, NCRB does not maintain, so we don't have a data on that. Okay. So now what we have is the state of Manipur and Rajasthan have brought about their own anti-lynching bills, mob lynching bills they have brought about. So the center is saying that we are seeking more information from these states over here. Now, just for information's sake, this is nothing to do with the center over here, because policing, maintaining law and order are state subjects, not concurrent subjects. Important, Arunachal MLAs, it doesn't seem as such, it seems like a very short this thing, but it is very important. So Arunachal MLAs refuse to discuss menstrual leave. So idea is that women should be given menstrual leave. So this proposal was there, this bill was to be introduced. Bill is basically a proposal for a law. So a day's leave to be given to school and college going girls and women in jobs. Right, so that is the idea. It is being done in other countries like Italy, Japan. In some states like Bihar and Kerala also, this facility is being provided. Now when the discussion was to take place, bill is there, so naturally it will be discussed in the house of the legislature. So in that, the BJP MLA said that, see, this is a dirty thing, letera cheese. It is a dirty thing, and it is a holy place. It is a too holy a place, the legislature, to discuss such an issue. So this reflects the mindset of the MLAs, and I think this is across the political spectrum, this view would be shared. Okay, so this reflects about the social taboos that are there, the unwillingness to discuss about the women issues. You're introducing a bill, but yet you don't want to discuss this also. Even talking about this, the notion is that it will lead to a polluting effect. Okay, they say that in our Neshi tribe, now where is the Neshi tribe? It is in the state of Arunachal Pradesh. There is another tribe, Mishmi tribe. So tribes of Arunachal Pradesh are particularly important. In fact, the northeast in total, right? So UPSC asks question here. So Neshi tribe. So they say in that tribe, so women who are menstruating, they have to sleep far from the kitchen and they do not come near anyone. So during that time, they do not come near one. In fact, there are certain tribes also, so who have to live, the people have to live, women, they have to live outside of the settlements. In fact, deaths have also taken place because of that. So you see the discrimination over here. So here is the question that UPSC asked in 2019. What are the continued challenges for women in India against time and space? By the way, the menstrual thing is also true for the Sabrimala temple thing, the judgment that was there. Okay, now see, typically the UPSC is asking questions like this, challenges for women in against time and space. Now you need to know about the concept of time and space. Then a question was asked as to what is the double burden of the middle class working woman. Right, so such terms you should be aware of, double burden of middle class working women, right? So in that way the UPSC is asking. Addressing the women issues and how does it lead to better socio-economic indicators. So that way the questions are being framed. Okay. So you have continued challenges, you can see here also. This is with reference to social taboo. Let us do this in the form of time and space. So see, time, when we say time, we are basically talking about girl from a child through the various stages of life that discrimination is coming. So as a girl child, access to education, access to nutrition, healthcare, there is a preference to give the same more to the boy as compared to the girl. This is specifically where the resource burden is more. I mean, resource burden on the household is more, less resources are there, so that is the time more discrimination is seen. Okay, so with reference to child education, when the woman starts working, that is the time we see discrimination. And you see, child education, you can see we have universalization of education at the pre-primary level, but we see high dropout rates, and that too amongst girl. Why do we see that the healthcare parameters of girl child are worse as compared to the boy child? Because of the discrimination that is taking place. Then when she gets married, right? When she gets married, okay. So when the girl child marries, she leaves their house, right? So she has to do it. Okay, most of the customs are to be done by the girl side. Okay, so this is there. Then the sharing of responsibilities between the spouse, the woman has to pay, have the higher burden over here. Right, so that is the basic thing over here. Then coming to maternal care. Now let's do the double burden of the middle class working woman. The middle class working woman has to work like the man also, but she has the double burden of taking care of the household, taking care of the children, taking care of the family, of the in-laws, etc. That is the double burden basically. Now coming to the aspect of space. Space means what? Space basically means location, house, workplace, environment, challenges to safety, challenges to workplace, mobility. So space. So in that way you have to answer this question over here. Bharat Natyam and Indian diplomacy. So there is a reference of Dikshit principle, and that, to be honest, it's basically this, because of this I took up this topic. And what is the Dikshit principle? And when I talk about this Dikshit principle, we will also end up discussing the non-alignment policy of India, and is the non-aligned policy relevant in the modern context? So we are basically doing the Indian diplomacy, India's foreign policy basically in this article, and this article is written by none other than a former diplomat. He writes articles for Hindu, you will see him very often actually. Okay. So the thing arises that it's in the context of India being non-aligned when it comes to voting at the United Nations Security Council. India decided to abstain from voting. So because of the Ukraine war, a resolution was passed against Russia. Not passed, resolution was introduced against Russia because veto was there, so it was never passed. Right. So India is having a mixed thing. Should it go with Russia? Should it not go? So they said we will not vote only. So they abstained from voting. UNGA didn't do that, right? This take freedom for what is this called? Resolution for peace. So under that, if there is a stalemate at the UNSC, you can go to the UNGA. Okay. Then it went to the UN Human Rights Council. There again, India abstained from voting. So what do we see over here? We see that India is being non-committal, and this is being criticized. So what India is doing over here is that India is not being aligned. So India is not taking any stand of the West, of the US, EU, etc., despite a lot of pressure, and nor is it going with the Russian side totally. It's maintaining ties with Ukraine also at the same time. So we see non-alignment over here. But this non-alignment is not linked to any principle. Right? It is not linked to principle. It is basically focusing on securing the interest of the nation first. That is the priority. India has interest with the United States of America. For example, let's say in diplomacy, in maritime domain, the South China Sea issue over here, right? That we have with the China, and we want support of USA. We want transfer of technology. So all of that, India needs support. India needs support of USA when it comes to the nuclear deals. Right. Likewise, India needs support of Russia also, long-standing friend. And it is not really about long-standing friend. Actually, we have a lot of defense ties. If they say that we will not provide you supplies of our Sukhois, etc., we'll have a tough time. Likewise, Russia can put pressure on China, which is becoming a belligerent power, we are having this land border issues with them. So Russia can put pressure on China. Bhai, ruk ja. Don't do this with India, right? So that is what can happen. Okay, so basically India is being non-aligned over here. And by not voting at the same time, India is having a kind of a flexibility. India is being in a gray zone, black and white. So the in between is gray of black and white. So India has the option of not being committal, that India can actually engage with both countries, both groups. India can pave way for negotiations. India has scope or space for diplomatic maneuver, because India is being non-committal. So you have a choice, if you don't punch, if you punch, okay, you punched, so you have hit the person. Now the other person will punch you. But if you're non-committal, so other person is also confused, you have a choice, you can go this way or this way. Right, so India is having that flexibility over here. So this is the Dixit principle. So Dixit was Mr. Jyotindra Nath Dixit. He was India's foreign secretary between the time period of 1991 to 1994. I have come out of this situation over here. Now let's do the India's foreign policy. And this was a very, very important time for India because this will do the Dixit principle, where he basically says that India should be non-aligned. It should do the Bharat Natyam. It should be flexible. It should be non-committal. It should first focus on its own interest. So it was actually in 1991 where we saw this. So what happened in 1991 was disintegration of the USSR, and India was, the world was divided into the two blocks, USA and USSR. So India was leaning towards USSR at that time, even though it was non-aligned. So with the disintegration of the USSR, India had to now move towards the US, which had created a unipolar world because the other pole was gone. So India had to balance its relations over here now. It had to realign over here. So this is it. So how he paved the role with reference to India. Again, India never fully aligned with the US at the same time. It deepened or intensified its relation with USA. It moved away from the USSR. But at the same time, it maintained that grey space between the two. This was the time of P.V. Narasimha Rao, and they had a talk, P.V. Narasimha Rao and the US president, as to why are we fighting? Why do we have differences? We should resolve them. And they say, what is the issue that we have problem with? Nuclear proliferation. So okay, fine. So we will sort this out. So imagine in USA formed the nuclear supplier group. At one point of time, India was sanctioned also during the time of Indira Gandhi. And yet, it was the first country that USA was the first country which had a civil nuclear deal. And now India, it is helping us with the NSG, with the missile technology control regime, which basically stopped India from various fields. It stopped India from acquiring the technology at one point of time from USSR for developing the cryogenic engines. But now it is the same country that is supporting, and we are securing our interests at the same time. Likewise, on the China issue, India is maintaining good relations. It is trying to maintain good relations. Even though we have tensions, but we are maintaining that relations. At the same time, we are also not alienating Taiwan. China claims that Taiwan is part of China. They have the one China policy, which we agree with it. But at the same time, we are maintaining our relations with Taiwan at the same time. So you see, we are being non-committal. We are being non-aligned. But we are taking a stance at the same time. So we are basically securing our national interest. Principles are important, fine. But national interest is first. Now also think about it, not mentioned in the article, we are having this multipolar world, USA, China, USSR. Okay, so we are in a bit of a fix with China. We have difficult relation with China at this point of time, but we want to have good relations. We also want to have good relations with USA, with which we have a Quad agreement also, Quad which is targeted against China. So here again you see that India is being non-aligned. It is becoming part of Quad. It is furthering its interest, but at the same time, it is also mindful of being non-aligned, not being fully committed to USA and being drawn into USA's conflict with China. Right, so this is basically the India's foreign policy with reference to non-alignment, and now you can think about it. Is it still relevant, the policy of non-aligned, which was there earlier during the bloc politics? Right, so think about it. If you can actually interact with me in the comment section also. Growing prices. I think we'll do this quickly. We did this yesterday also. So the CPI is increasing at 6.07%. So this is a quick recap. And the wholesale price index is at 13.11%. So basically inflation is increasing at a very fast rate. So the target was set at 4%, 4% plus minus 2. And who sets the target? It was actually the government and the Monetary Policy Committee, which had an agreement. It had a memorandum of agreement or a framework. As per it was said that the task of the Monetary Policy Committee is that it will ensure that they will do inflation targeting, and they will set this at 4% plus minus 2%. So both have done it, government as well as the Monetary Policy Committee of the RBI. And by the way, MPC came with the recommendations of the Urijit Patel Committee report. Okay, fine. So this is it. Inflation is increasing. Now, see, this is a CPI number. CPI means the inflation or the price rise that has been experienced by the end consumer. Now think about it. WPI is at 13%. So let's say we are buying something, right? We are buying certain goods, etc. Imagine all the goods are coming from this thing only. So we are buying this, and the inflation that we find is 6.07%. But this person, the person who was buying, it is experiencing an inflation. He is buying from the wholesaler, so he is buying at the wholesale rate, and here the inflation is at 13.11%. So naturally there is a limit to which the buyer will absorb, or the retailer or the industry will absorb. Ultimately it will transfer the same to the consumer. Everybody is there for profit only. Nobody is doing charity over here. So this 6.07% should actually increase over the course of time. And what makes it worse is that vegetable prices, etc. are increasing. And one of the reasons for that is that the fuel prices are very, very high. And fuel is imported. And the cost of importing the fuel has increased. It was already very high at $94 per barrel. Now because of that Ukraine war that has taken place, it has increased by $20 a barrel. It's around I think reached till 130 actually. It was much more than this, what it is mentioning over here. So $130 per barrel. So you're spending more money. So more money on fuel, and fuel is energy. So energy is a raw material, kind of a raw material based on which the factories, etc. are working. So the cost of production is increasing. Cost of transportation is increasing. Cost of transportation of vegetables is increasing. So food inflation is increasing. So everything will get more expensive. And what makes matters worse is that fuel is taxed very, very highly by both the center and the states also. So in this context, it is not a sustainable solution, and we need to. That is what the article is advocating over here, that we need to do something about the inflation issue. Otherwise, it was going to hit the growth prospects. And the RBI over here, what does the monetary policy do? RBI do with here? RBI says that, see, there is too much money in the economy, which is chasing too few goods. So there is too much money. So we need to squeeze out that money. We have to remove the money from the economy. And how does it do? It increases the interest rates, key interest rates. Right. So when the interest rate increases, you would like to park your money with the bank because you're getting better return. So it will do the interest rate, it will increase, it will reduce the money from the economy at the same time. It will increase the cost of capital if the interest rate is high. So the cost of borrowing will also be high. So this is it. But RBI says with nothing doing, we are not doing this. We are having an accommodative policy. See, the growth has been affected. Industrial growth is very, very low. We have to do something. We have to provide them more credit. Otherwise, it will snowball into other difficulties. So what can the government do? For your answer, you will write interest rate has to be increased. The taxation on fuel has to be reduced. And what else can you say? Long-term measures need to be taken to address the supply side shocks. Right, so supply side shocks have to be addressed, so that obviously one of the reason is lack of supply because of the lockdown and the closure of the economy. So that needs to be rectified. UN resolution focuses only on one religion. Which resolution? Which resolution are we talking about? So Pakistan brought about a resolution. It says India is introducing yoga day, etc. We are being left aside. So let's do one thing. We will also have our own resolution. So this will be on 15th of March. So 15th of March every day will be known as the International Day to Combat Islamophobia. Now there is a bloc known as Organization of Islamic Countries, which is concerned about the interest of the Islamic population in the world, which India is not part of, and India is the second highest population of Muslims in the world. So they have backed this, right? So it has gone, and they are saying that, see, this is the International Day to Combat Islamophobia. So India says that, see, this is not justified that it is only for one religion. What we should have is that, what we must have is that religiophobia. Right, religiophobia should be there. So it should not be with reference to one religion. It is not only one religion that is suffering from this phobia concept. There are other religions also that is affected. Like these days I refer to. I was going to give you an example with reference to Rohingyas, but there again Muslim population. In fact, we can say Tamil Hindus in the Sri Lanka region, right, against the Buddhists, but again Muslims were getting affected. There was a match that was going on in India, Sri Lanka, that time they were talking about it also. Anti-Semitism, the Jews, right, so that is also there. So Christianophobia is also there. So we have to have a holistic thing that looks into the entire world, not just with reference to one religion only. Quickly, I think we're going to do quickly on this thing. This is India's solar capacity, milestone and challenges. So India, as part of the Glasgow summit in Scotland that had taken place, India had said that we will be carbon neutral by 2070, and as part of one of its commitment, nationally determined contributions to climate change, it said that, see, we will have a total capacity of 1000 gigawatts, and of this 500 gigawatt will come from renewable energy. So non-fossil fuel based energy will be 500 gigawatt. Okay, so we have one target, one fact over here. Now, obviously in this, solar component will play a very important role. Ours is a tropical country. We have good amount of sunshine, right? So solar will play a very important role. And for promotion of solar, we have a scheme known as National Solar Mission. And the National Solar Mission, specifically under Prime Minister Modi, they said, they revised the target multiple times. So they said that we will have 100 gigawatt of installed capacity by 2022. And we are in which year, by the way? Okay. So of this, we have only developed 50 gigawatt. So obviously there is a target, there will be a gap over here, 50 gigawatt, which is a good number. So we rank 5th in solar power deployment, which is very good. Normally we are last in the indicators, right? So 5th from the top is very good. So 50 gigawatt. But why is there a gap? And our economy is also very, very big. So naturally we will be the 5th largest. It has to be there because geographically speaking, population wise speaking, ours is a very big country. Why the gap? What are the issues and challenges that are being faced? So one thing that it says is that awareness is very low. Awareness and access to affordable finance. Finance for what? Rooftop solar projects. Clear? So see, with solar, you don't have to have power plants, big power plants, etc. You can have it on the roof. You have with solar panels. We have solar geysers also these days. So why can't we have this? And it actually, I really think about this. Why do we have solar geysers? Why can't we have solar electricity? So basically, you're taking making electricity of the solar light that is coming, photovoltaics, and then generating electricity and then heating the water. The same could have been supplied to the inverter also. Anyways, so we are not focusing on rooftop electricity, rooftop solar installation. It is very, very dismal. So that needs to improve. And how will that improve? By increased awareness and affordable finance. And by the way, this has certain benefits. We have energy crisis in our country. Right, we have energy crisis. We have very limited power utilities. We will have power shortages very soon. The summers are coming up. So we can have the independent buildings, apartments, etc. that can generate their own electricity. At least it can reduce the load that power companies have. Now think about it, the electricity is being generated at a particular site, power plant, then it is transmitted. So the cost of transmission will increase. You will have all the wires and grids, etc. So if the rooftop is there, the grid is very, very small, right? So that is the benefit of this thing. So that needs to be done. In fact, that will also promote off-grid development of off-grid electricity. In fact, we are doing this in the mountainous regions. We are looking at it. We can focus on the rural areas also, where if we do not have this grid supply is not there, at least at the household level or at certain community, they can have a small power plant working on the electricity that is coming from the solar. So that is a problem. Next is the issues with reference to grids, transmission and distribution issues. The thing is that first of all, the energy that is coming from solar is not consistent, and we cannot have distinct grids for this. So like in Germany, what they have done is they have the common grid where conventional electricity is coming, and this is being fed by solar electricity also. Now see, the electricity is not just electricity, it is coming at a frequency, right? The currents. So there has to be a mechanism of transmitting this electricity and integrating this with the conventional grid over here. It should be able to balance this also, right? So let's say the load is now more sun rays is there, so more electricity is coming. So this demand from the power utility should come down. So that balancing act should also be there. So this has not been happened as yet. We are not able to do this. Then in Germany has really succeeded in this. So Germany, what is happening is there is the concept of net metering. So this is again with reference to rooftop. So the households that generate electricity, the surplus electricity, they can sell it to the power utility companies. So net metering, this concept is still not there in our country. And for this, it's not about concept, it is about technology, it is about affordability, which we do not have. And we want to have this. Germany is very willing to provide us, and I personally believe that this is because they expect us to provide money for their submarines. Okay, so transmission and distribution. So transmission and distribution for solar is very, very expensive. So even though the cost of production of electricity may be low, but cost of transmission of electricity is very, very high. Then there are other issues like land cost, high transmission and distribution losses, inefficiencies, grid integration and challenges. Actually, this is all you actually need to do beyond this issue. So this point of your challenges is covered over here. Okay. Now one more aspect to this is, right, let me just, this is all cluttered up now, this plus this. So these are your challenges. Now in the course of time, naturally we will have solar waste. This is an additional issue. Solar waste, and naturally we should have a waste policy also as to how we will have all the solar installations, the cells will go bad. So eventually, and these are having this, what do we say, so the heavy metals, etc. So if they go back into the environment, it will be polluting. So this effect will be bad. So we need to work on how do we manage this waste. So in this light, European Union has taken some decisive steps, and they have done well in having policies for managing the waste coming from solar photovoltaic cells. So what we can do is we need to develop the circular economy model for solar systems. What is the circular model? Circular model. So from, see, one is the solar cells, right? So solar manufacturing is being done. And by the way, talking about solar manufacturing, we are again importing the raw materials, and then we are simply fabricating it, we are assembling it. We should have the capacity of even developing the raw materials. We should also have the capacity of making those wafers within the country itself. Those chips that you see, this black color thing, that is basically this wafer. Okay. So see, one is the manufacturing, then getting the electricity, supplying it to the end consumer. Circular economy means from raw material to the waste that is being generated, and then recycling of that waste. The entire thing should be integrated. That is circular economy. So you can see a circular economy. Waste, recycled, we get the raw material, again make the solar cell, again waste, again do it. So this should be done. And the International Renewable Energy Agency, which is based out of Dubai, these are important. So they have recommended this, advocating this policy over here, and they say that this industry is about 15 billion. So we need to incentivize this recycling sector, the waste management sector, with reference to solar photovoltaic cells. Now beyond this, we also have this international cooperation, international initiative by India, which is known as the International Solar Alliance, which came in the background of the Convention on the Climate Change, COP21. So Paris Convention was going on. So at that time, Prime Minister Modi said that, see, we are a tropical country. These developed countries do not provide us technology. They are not providing us funding, so many things. And it is very expensive. And one of the reasons why the solar thing is expensive because of the economies of scale. So why can't we tropical countries, imagine this is the equator of the earth, this is the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, torrid zone, most of the sun rays coming. Why don't we cooperate, aggregate our resources, develop economies of scale, and be self-sufficient, be competitive in the renewable energy market, solar sector market. Now in this Paris, since it was in Paris, so Paris president also went ahead and collaborated with India. So it basically, the membership of the International Solar Alliance is these countries, but at the same time, other countries can also be part of this initiative. And the International Solar Alliance is based out of, the headquarters is in Gurugram. Right, so this is the article. This concludes the explainer section. So this is all from my side. So thank you for streaming in to IASPrimers with me, Shubhashish. Bye bye, take care and all the best.